Shabbat Shalom, family. Welcome to another episode of the Halelu'Yah podcast, where we bring you the truth straight from the source. I'm Baruch Ahaya.
And I'm Jael. Shabbat Shalom.
Yo, we are moving along this word, man. We're really coming up with a lot of great things. The Most High is really edifying us. He's really putting a lot of seeds, planting a lot of seeds in our heart to really be able to learn the truth behind these stories that we've read pretty much basically our whole lives, but now we're coming into a much deeper understanding. All praises to the Most High, Yah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that Abraham had a whole army and they were all trained up. So definitely the last few chapters we read were kind of eye-opening. And you know what? These chapters that we're going to read right now were eye-opening as well, because traditionally, how we believe the story of Abraham to be is not what the word says. That's crazy, and we're definitely going to get into that, because just because there is a popular belief of something does not mean that it's a biblical truth. And we're definitely going to dive into that today. Genesis 16. Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, Behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And Sarai said unto Abram, My wrong be upon thee, and I have given my maid unto thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judge between me and thee. But Abram said unto Sarai, Behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence camest thou, and whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Return to thy mistress, and submit thyself unto her hands. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and thou shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called him the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou God seest me. For she said, Have I also here looked after him that seeth me? Wherefore the well was called Bir Laharoi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name which Hagar bare, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old, when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. So, traditionally, the stories that have been told to us, I don't know if you've been following along, but me as a Christian, or what the church had taught me before, was more along the lines that Sarah had very weak faith, and because of her weak faith or unbelief, it was why she gave Hagar to Abram. But the very chapter before this, there was no speak of Sarah having a son or anything like that. In this moment, we only know that Yah spoke to Abram and told Abram that he was gonna have children. So it wasn't really towards Sarah. So when Abram receives this promise, Sarah, as a good wife, this is what I see as a good wife, in her heart, thinking that, you know, she can't bear children, she did what was customary in those times to do, where her handmaid, you know, she gave Abram her handmaid as a wife, and it was custom in those days that if the handmaid were to have a child, that child actually would belong to Sarah in this case. So Sarah did what her thoughts as a human at that, you know, point of time, what was the best to do for her husband. Her husband was promised to have a child, so she didn't know, or she wasn't spoken to by Yah at this time. There was no mention in this chapter at all that Sarai was to bear children or to give Abraham seed or anything like that. You know, that's not mentioned here at all. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah. Hallelujah. And to point to that as well, one of the things that I wanted to point out about that, because that scripture right there, along with a lot of other scriptures in the Word, but that one specifically, that story with Sarah and Abraham, and, you know, getting Hagar involved, it speaks to me because it just goes to show how much we try to take things into our own hands. You know, especially when I was in Christianity, for sure, you know, we would say, oh, well, God has a promise for me. And then we'll do everything in our power to make that promise come to pass the way that we imagine that it would come to pass. But at the end of the day, it's Yah's hand that has to fulfill it. And I think a lot of the times we forget, you know, we forget that he's a real living being that walks with us. So a lot of the times, since we're not physically seeing him, we forget that when he makes us a promise, it will come to pass whether we move or not. Now, that's not to say don't put forth works, but at the end of the day, with something like childbearing, right? I mean, you have these opportunities nowadays to get surrogates. You can do like I guess adoptions, or even, you know, in a case with a woman that can't bear a child, you know, whatever means, you know, now they've got AI robots that are able to do that for people, you know, and it's like, understandably, somebody living in the world that wants to have a child and know that they can't have a child, of course, you know, mentality is like, well, this is what the world has provided. And if I believe in God, then I believe that God put this here for us to be able to utilize these resources. But Yah is the ultimate creator. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're missing a womb, if you're missing tubes, if you're missing any part of you that is required, Yah put a baby inside of a virgin. You know, and at the end of the day, Yah can do whatever it is that he wants to do. So if he makes us a promise, we have to really be keen in holding on to the fact that he is going to fulfill that promise, whether we help him out or not. You know, and yeah, man. So it definitely speaks to me in a major way. Hallelujah.
Yeah. So, but I do want to like make a little emphasis that Sarah wasn't really acting upon, you know, disobedience, right? Because
right.
she didn't receive this promise. So the promise, we only knew half of the promise. The promise was to Abram. So she was, yes, she was using her human logic and, you know, did whatever she felt, you know, needed to be done. But I do like what you're saying, because instead of her using her human logic, maybe she should have had faith and, and thinking that, well, maybe, Yahuwah will do a miracle in me, because you do see how she kind of does complain about not being able to bear children or whatever, and that was the reason why she gave him Hagar. Maybe her thinking should have been, or maybe she should have gone to Yah, spoken to him and pleaded to him that, I would love to be the one to bear children for my husband and not having to give him my handmaid. Probably, maybe that could have happened, but it didn't happen. But it's not how they tell us. It's not how they tell us that because of Sarah's lack of faith, she gave him Hagar. No, that's not true, because she didn't receive that message yet. She wasn't told. She wasn't told that she was gonna bear children or not. She wasn't told. So she didn't do that under that mentality.
Right. Absolutely.
Hagar.
Absolutely.
The name Hagar, it means stranger, sojourner. Hagar was Egyptian, I believe. So we have here, perhaps maybe it wasn't the right thing to do because she was Egyptian and mixing seeds, but I don't know. Maybe she should have, consulted with Yahuwah before doing that.
Absolutely. And two, with the mixing seeds, that wasn't even really established at this moment either, because the mixing seeds that came about after the first Exodus. So
okay,
that I don't think she would have known she was wrong for doing that specifically. And if she did know, then Abram definitely would have known. And wouldn't have done it. So I don't think that the mixing seed thing in this specific case is really an issue as far as that goes.
But I do notice. Yeah, I'm sorry. You were gonna say something?
No problem. Yeah, I was gonna say I did want to mention something about Hagar too, though. So when you look at what Yah is telling her, whenever she's dealt harshly with Sarah, and she's going and she's mourning the fact that she's being dealt harshly with, and the Most High says to return to her mistress. Right now, I want to bring this to all the people who are struggling in life and feeling as if the Most High would just pull them out of this situation. A lot of the times, the Most High will immerse you in a situation that's less than pleasant, and that's really to strengthen you. But it's also to test your faith as well. He literally told her to go back to the place where he knew that she was being chastised because of something that wasn't even her fault. So a lot of us in the world now would look at that and say, oh, well, that's just not fair. But at the end of the day, why did Yah want her there? Ishmael was being born. Abram had to still teach Ishmael everything that he knew, because Ishmael was still going to go off and he was still going to have his 12 nations. So the Most High, he's not going to just pull you out of a scenario just because you're seeking him. You might really be close to finding him and seeking his face. And I know a lot of Christian thought is once you're looking for God, then, a lot of your problems are going to go away. I've heard, pastors say, sometimes that the problems are just getting started, but the overall mentality is that we're in the winning season. We will win. And it's like, your idea of winning is so, and this isn't to offend, but really like take the words that I'm saying. It's a very small-minded view of winning, because you're winning for this battle. Yah wants to set you up to win the whole war, and you winning the war might potentially mean you losing this particular battle. So if we can get to that thought, we can more surely say that we're worshiping Yah in spirit and in truth, because we're actually allowing ourselves to be used in scenarios where we're not appreciative, or we don't like to be in that scenario.
Definitely, there's a lot of situations that we're gonna find ourselves in once we start walking in this path, seeking the truth, looking towards his way, and along the way we are definitely gonna be refined. We're definitely gonna be caused to go through different processes to become that person that we're meant to be. And for instance, for you to refine metal has to go through fire. For all the impurities to fall off. So the impurities that we carry from, that we have from before the walk, how do you expect for those impurities to fall off? You're definitely going to be put through the fire as well. If you want to become spiritually strong, what does one have to do in the physical world to become strong? You have to work out. You have to go to intense training. And to work out and to go into intense training requires a lot of enduring of pain. Your muscles have to get torn up. You're gonna have to, go through. For instance, when if you run or if you do high intense training, there is definitely some type of pressure being involved, some type of pain being involved that you have to go through in order to develop endurance, develop strengths. So it's not gonna be happy-go-lucky all the time. Definitely not. And definitely, while we're going through whatever we're going through, we have to keep praising him. Praise him in the good times and praise him in the bad times. Seek him always, because we should be seeking him in every moment. Yes, when they're good, give him thanks, but also when the things are quote unquote going bad, praise him and seek him as well, because we need his guidance the most while going through those moments. So instead of fleeing, instead of running away, seek him. But you know what's interesting? Now that we're talking about Hagar and that she fled away from Sarai, she fled to the wilderness, and it says that the angel of Yahuwah found her in the wilderness. So that's interesting to me. And we all know who the angel of Yahuwah is, right?
All right.
That's a foreshadow right there of Yahusha. Already in Genesis, and there's been so many foreshadows already of Yahusha, and we're just in the 16th chapter of Genesis, and that's wow to me. That's interesting how Yahusha has been appearing already, and we're still only in the 16th chapter of the first book. And he found her in the wilderness. And sometimes certain things have to happen. And sometimes when we find ourselves in the wilderness, that is when the Most High finds us. And those are those moments where we start learning about him. I hate to be redundant and repeating myself, but I always bring up my experience with cancer. That process. Yes, I got mad, and yes, I had my battles with Yah during those times, but it was in those moments that along this process and where I got to be right now, where I'm at, that I got to get closer to him, got to learn more of him, really allowed him to manifest himself in my life. So sometimes when we're in the wilderness, there is a purpose in it. There is a function for it, because the word also says that everything works together for good for those who love Yah. So and we know that the word good means tov, and tov means that it's a function. It's just more than good, but it functions. So everything functions to our benefit if we are seeking Yah in every moment. Halelu'Yah.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself, man. There's just so many things I could think of that, just looking back in my own life, and even when I wasn't aware that, Christianity wasn't the direction, but still focusing on the church, but relying on the Most High really to come to my aid every time I needed him. And he was always there, and it's just that seeking, that real seeking. I remember being a kid, and my grandmother, like when you're a child, you're in church, sometimes you're cutting up a little bit, talking, or maybe playing with your fingers or whatever like that. But my grandmother, she told me one time that she didn't want me to go with her because I was too distracted. And I remember telling her, I said, well, how would you know if I'm getting any better if I'm not going to be in it? And that caused her to make me want to go, or that caused her to allow me to go to church with her. And I remember getting in there and just really just being imbued by the Spirit on that specific night, and it was just crazy, man. I always felt a deeper connection, but it was never to the church. It was always to the Spirit that I knew was in there, or that I thought was in there. But now I see it was just Yah with me all the time, man. And it's when you're dealing with troublesome times, or even when you're bringing the trouble. Because like I said, I was a kid. I was a distracted kid. I mean, it's not like that was the last time I ever was disruptive in church, but it's just even when you're bringing the trouble, you might not realize it. But if your heart is still after Yah, I mean, it may take a while for you to realize that you're the problem. But Yah being with you the whole time is gonna make sure that you get to that point where you realize, okay, well, this is where I am because of this is what I'm doing. And it's Yah that helped me to see that, or this is where I am because of whatever this scenario in my life is. And Yah is helping me through it. He's not going to just pull me out of it, just the same way as he's not going to just automatically make us stop, being whatever issue that we're being to whoever we're being an issue to. But at the end of the day, as long as your heart is set after him, Yah is forever going to be with you. He's never going to leave you or forsake you as long as your heart is 100% for him.
Yes.
Halelu'Yah.
And this is beautiful, man, because it says that the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water. Okay? By a fountain of water in the wilderness. So, not just in the wilderness, but by a fountain of water. That paints that picture of how Yahusha is that living water, the source,
Halelu'Yah.
And it says that by the fountain in the way to Shur. Now, Shur, it means wall. So, and Shur was actually the wall that was the border between Egypt and Canaan. So, he met her, he saw her as soon as right before her leaving that holy territory that was given to Abram, and was about to go into Egypt, that we know that Egypt means bondage. So before she even crossed over into bondage,
wow,
he appeared to her in that wilderness by that fountain, that source of life. It's beautiful how these words are put together in scripture. Yes.
Right.
And this
Halelu'Yah.
And this is actually the first time that the angel of the Lord appears to a woman throughout the whole word. And then it says here that let me see exactly what he says. In Genesis 16:13, and it says, and she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou God seest me. That's a name she gave to him. So this is one of the first titles that we find that is given to Yahuwah, which is El Roy, Elohim that sees me. All right, the mighty one that sees me. So Halelu'Yah. Those are that's the birth of one of his names right there.
Halelu'Yah. I can't help but think when you were mentioning what the meaning of Shur was and how she was literally about to cross from Canaan over into Egypt. I didn't even realize that part, until you brought that up. But I mean, it goes to show how we let our emotions literally run us from the covenant to bondage. I mean, every time we're getting a certain feeling about something, or maybe you started practicing the laws, and the pressure's starting to get to you. People are starting to ask questions, starting to shun you a little bit, and now your emotions are there and your feelings are there. And if you're not rooted in that truth, you're likely to run back to Egypt. It's the same way Hagar was running back into bondage. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
She was actually gonna backtrack because that's where she came from, and she was taken out of there and given into Abram. And so she was basically really backsliding because she was going back where she came from. And then also the very next verse, 16:14, Wherefore the well was called Ber Lahai, which basically means well of the living one that sees me. Okay, so that well was called that after that. And then it says here, behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. So Kadesh is what? Kodesh.
Holy, set apart.
Okay, and then Bered means confusion. So if he found her at the well,
wow,
right? And here saying, behold, it's between Kadesh and Bered. So he found her in that same mind state that you were just talking about right now. That if people attack you about your belief, you know, you get all emotional, this and that. So you're gonna find yourself in between being set apart and being confused. Halelu'Yah. But in that very moment, if you have a heart that's seeking Yah, and those very moments when the angel of the Lord will find you, because he is not going to allow you to backtrack. He is not going to allow you to leave. He's not going to allow you to go into that place of bondage. If you truly are a child of Yah, if you truly are one who is set for him, he's not going to allow you to cross shore. He's not going to allow you to jump that wall. He's not going to allow you. He will find you. He will find you, and he's going to tell you. He's going to tell you, go back to Sarai. But it's for your own good. It's for your own good, because clearly he said here that he will bless Ishmael, that, you know, he would increase her seed, and, you know, it's gonna have a reward if she went back, basically. So he was keeping her from backsliding. He was keeping her from that and telling her, yes, you're gonna have to go back to Sarah, but, you know, I got you. You're gonna be blessed.
It's amazing to me how many real messages are hidden behind names that we've always considered just arbitrary, you know. And when you look at these names and you see the meaning of the names and you see the messages in the name, then you can say that this is synonymous to what we see in Yah, in his name. There's a power in his name. If all these names mean something so profound, how much more does the name of Yah truly mean something so profound that we haven't even seen yet? You know, and it's it's just crazy. It's like a puzzle piece now. You know, it's literally just names, and it's like, okay, so the well was Ber Lahai, behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. Cool, great. I just read over that. I know it was between Kadesh and Bered. Cool, on to the next chapter. No, what does Kadesh and Bered mean? Set apart and confusion. And it's like, these are the names of places, but now there's the message that you ought to achieve from that. So now here I am in a place of being set apart versus confused. Here I'm in a place of being, you know, scared of being lukewarm, but ultimately wanting to find Yah, but seeing the attacks coming and being pulled and drawn the other way. And then there Yah is right at the wall of Shur, right before I'm about to cross back into that bondage. It's all in the names.
He's gonna find you right there in the middle, because who is the well? The well is the source of water, right? The source of life.
Right.
So who else would be that well? That well is representation of Yah. Okay?
Yahusha. Yah, yep.
Yahusha, well, the presence of Yah, you know, manifested. Yahusha, the angel of the Lord, you know, definitely, that's what the well is. The well represents that. So these are not just words. These are not just words written here. When we read these, when we read the word, we definitely need to look at it with spiritual lenses, because it's not just a well. It's not just a place called Kadesh. It's not just a place called Bered. It's not just a woman named Hagar. They all mean something.
Halelu'Yah.
Halelu'Yah. So then it says that Abram was 406 years old when Ishmael was born. Wow.
No, 406. 4 that's 86.
Okay, so,
86.
Oh, all right. 86. How did you learn the 4 score is 80?
Well, the score is 20. I learned that in school.
Oh,
yeah, score is 20.
Okay. All right. Okay. 86 years old. All right. Well, bro, why can't they just write 86?
Because we got to give the message, man. Some will
Poor
see,
score.
some won't.
Poor score. And Hagar bare Ishmael. Ishmael means El listens. It's a similar name to Shamael. Ishmael. So it's Elohim is listening. Halelu'Yah.
Halelu'Yah.
It says that, I think in a few verses before, when Genesis 16:11, and the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. So the reason why he was called Ishmael is because Yahuwah had heard her. So that's what. Right. So his name, that's what it means.
Halelu'Yah. Yeah. Man, I feel like if everyone could see the word through the lenses of the spirit, of knowing that these words are literally synonymous with definitions that we can actually apply to our life, it'll be so much less easy for people to say, oh, well, this was just written by man. How can this be divinely inspired? Oh, it's a book about glorifying men, it bashes women, and all this stuff that people say about the word and just bashing the word. And it's like, yo, if you would just read it and truly understand it, you will see that this book is a living spirit that we're actually connecting with every time we open it.
And this is why I believe it's important to study Hebrew and, go for the Hebrew roots. There's a lot of people that, would... I don't understand why they do this, but a lot of people would bash you and tell you, oh, so you think you're Hebrew now? You're studying Hebrew, you're going for the Hebrew roots. And it's like, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I study Hebrew and learn the actual meaning of words? Like, you're missing basically 80% of what the word is talking about if you don't know what these words mean. So, oh yeah, you're in those Hebrew roots movement. You're right. Yes, I am. Are you trying to make it sound derogatory that I'm in the Hebrew roots movement? Yeah, you're right.
I'm willing to bet that these are the same people that picked on kids that actually wanted to read in school and wanted to learn something. Oh, you want to get an A? Oh, you trying to pass your grade, high nerd? I bet you did the same people, right? And then went and flunked out of school themselves.
But it makes no sense to me, because
it doesn't.
Say you're a believer of the Messiah, you call him Jesus or whatever you want to call him, right? But the whole idea is that you believe in a Messiah. To believe in a Messiah, that is so Hebrew, because the only people that had in their doctrine or in their belief that a Messiah was coming were the Hebrew people, especially the Israelites. So to believe in an Israelite Messiah who his father is the God of the Israelites, you believe in an Israelite God, but you don't want to learn Hebrew. You think, learning Hebrew is, it makes no sense to do so. That makes no sense to me.
Right. Yeah.
Man,
all right.
Let's get into
Let's go on to the next one.
Genesis chapter 17. And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly. And Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shall thy name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham. For a father of many nations have I made thee. And I will make thee exceeding fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee, in thy generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee, and to thy seed after thee. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And God said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you, and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you. And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house, or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed. He that is born in thy house, and he that is bought with thy money, must needs be circumcised. And my covenant shall be in your flesh for an everlasting covenant. And the uncircumcised man child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, thou so shall be cut off from his people, and he hath broken my covenant. And God said unto Abraham, As for Sarai, thy wife, thou shalt not call her Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yeah, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abram fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abram said unto God, Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And for Ishmael I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and I will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. And he left off talking with him, and God went up from Abraham. And Abraham took Ishmael, his son, and all that were born in the house, and all that were bought with his money, every male among the men of Abraham's house, and circumcised the flesh of their foreskin in the self same day, as God had said unto him. And Abram was 90 years old and 9, and he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old, when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the self same day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son. And all the men of his house were born in the house, and bought with money of the stranger were circumcised with him.
Halelu'Yah.
Hallelujah. So, we see that there was a name change. And this is an interesting name change here. Right? Because it goes from Abram to Abraham, and from Sarai to Sarah. So, what was added here? What's the difference in the names here?
It's the hay. The
hay. The hay was added into here, yes. And we know that the hay means behold, revealed, but it also means breath. So Abram already meant exalted father and father of many when you looking into the paleo sense, but now it's a revealed father. He is the revealed father that now carries the breath of Yah. Now, Sarai means princess. And so Sarah now basically is that princess revealed now with the breath of Yah. And it's interesting because Yah said that she would be the mother of nations and kings will come from her. So that's basically what that name Sarah means. It's that princess that would, bear kings, basically.
Hallelujah.
So, Halelu'Yah. So that's what that means. It's his breath added into Abraham and his breath added into Sarah. Halelu'Yah.
Hallelujah. He literally breathed life into their covenant. I wanted to mention where Yah tells them, let me see if I can see it exactly. Where he tells them to be perfect. Oh, there it is. It's the first verse. So in verse 1, and when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram and said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. So when you hear that, I know that the modern definition of perfect, right, is flawless, completely, like blemish free, completely, right? It's where this saying comes, nobody's perfect. I'm only human. I'm not perfect. And we even see the Messiah tell us to be perfect the same way Yah tells Abraham to be thou perfect. So let's see what he's actually saying to him, right? When you look at the word for perfect, that word is tamim.
Yes.
And tamim is the tav, the tav, the mem, the yod, and the mem, right? So tav meaning a sign of covenant, the mem meaning water like flowing, the yod, active power and doing, and then the mem again, water, like life. And it overall means the mark or covenant of continual working life. So be thou perfect in the traditional modern sense doesn't even make sense to apply in this scenario, because what Yah is really telling Abraham is to continue walking in my covenant. He's not telling him that he'll never make mistakes, because we know that the word says if any man says he's without sin, he's a liar and the truth is not with him. So how can it say that, but in the same exact book say to be perfect? Is it that the word is lying? Or is it that our perception of what the word is saying is lying to us? We have to take time to understand what was actually written.
Hallelujah.
When he says to be perfect, he says to walk in his covenant. Yahusha himself says to be perfect. So for anyone that thinks that the law is done away with, you're literally saying Yahusha lied, because to be perfect means to walk in that continual covenant by way of Yahusha. So in order to keep that covenant, we have to keep the law. And it's not to say be legalistic and, just go out there bashing people that aren't keeping it, but to walk it in love. When Yahusha came, his whole point was to show those already keeping the law that you have to keep it in love to those that are doing their best. And that's where the miscommunication comes in. A lot of the times in Christianity, they see him basically turning his nose against the Pharisees, thinking, oh, it's because of the fact that they were trying to keep this old law, and they were trying to be, trying to appear righteous and this and that and the third, when in all actuality, what it wasn't that he was trying to prevent people from keeping the law. He was trying to help them keep the law while showing others how to keep the law with them in love, bringing them up in love, being a brother, being an eye, that protection. So that to me is a vital word. When you read perfection, anytime you read perfection in the word, especially if you're in the Blue Letter Bible, I 100% encourage every time you see that word perfection, click on that word and see if the word that's given for it is tamim, because it's a totally different meaning.
So depending on its context, it's something that we've noticed with our study. Not every word, like in this sense, perfect. And let's say if the word perfect was written in another verse or another chapter or whatever, it won't necessarily say tamim. So definitely we need to see the context of what this perfect is really saying, because chances are it's not the same Hebrew word. And also to touch base on tamim, the word tamim, the definition means to be complete. To be complete. We also see tamim when Peter asked Yahusha how many times does he have to forgive a brother that sins against him, and Yahusha says, 70 times 7, right? For 90. We know that tamim is the total of the numerology of tamim equals 490. So basically he told him until it's complete. So tamim is not, in a sense, perfect like you were saying, but it's to be whole, complete, until there is no fault. So this teaches us here that for us to be complete, we need to be what? Walking with Yahuwah, always walking with him, in order to be perfect, but not perfect in this English sense, but tamim, to be complete. Halelu'Yah.
Halelu'Yah. Halelu'Yah. And what's curious to me as well, so I was thinking, that the land of Canaan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how Canaan, they weren't supposed to take the land that they had. Like, that was really Shem's land. Mm-hmm. And it dawned on me that if Canaan hadn't done that, then everything that we see from the Exodus on, it really wouldn't have added up. Because let's say, hypothetically speaking, that Canaan didn't steal that land, because we know it wasn't their land. So obviously, Joshua had to go in there and had to eradicate all the people that, were part of this land that wasn't theirs. So let's say that some Shemite nation took the land. It was ordained for them, and they took that land and everything. So that means that after the Exodus, where would Israel have had to have gone back to? It just dawned on me that, and I was thinking about that, and akin to Judas and the Messiah. If Judas hadn't done what he done, then the Messiah wouldn't have been, he wouldn't have been the sacrifice. So I say all this to say this, right? It proves that there are vessels of honor and dishonor. Like when you read 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 20 through 21, and it talks about vessels of honor and vessels of dishonor. And I think they made it akin to like vessels of gold and silver versus vessels of like clay or something like that. It really, it kind of begged the question. I don't know what made me think about it after reading this chapter. I think I saw something about Canaan in this chapter, and that just kind of got me to thinking. Like, if Canaan hadn't done the things that they did, then how would that story of Exodus have looked? But we don't have to ask that in the sense of, this is a reality, obviously, because what really happened was Canaan stole the land and we had to go back and get it. But it just kind of, it painted a picture for me that, there are literally, even in our modern era, there are vessels of honor and vessels of dishonor. And I suppose that this really is just a message of encouragement to anyone that are trying to preach to these vessels of dishonor, of course, unbeknownst to you. Some of these people that were literally put here to be that vessel of confusion. And it might be somebody that might be somebody that you're close to, might be somebody that you love. It could be a spouse, could be a mother or father, and they were literally put here to be a vessel of confusion. Unbeknownst to us, it's no shade on anybody, but it's written right here that there are certain people put here to be those things. And it's important, while we still try to reach those people, that we don't get dragged along with those people as well. It was a thought that came to mind, just reading Canaan.
While you were saying that, there are many instances that you look at and you're like, wow, why did that happen? Or, but it leads to something. Like, for instance, Joseph was picked on by his brothers, right? Because, he was a quote unquote favorite one, or this and that. They sold him. Joseph, if you look at what he went through, but eventually what happened to him, he eventually became someone very important in Egypt, a governor, right? He was given a land to foresee for himself. And guess what? There was a time of famine going on in Israel where they had to leave that land and go to Egypt for lack of food and lack of resources, and basically ask Egypt to help. And lo and behold, who was it that was in position to be able to help their brothers? So, Yah used that situation that many people will be like, oh man, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? But it's really for a purpose. There's really something at the end of the whole, of the process. There's definitely a reason why and a purpose why Yahuwah does not allow certain things to happen in our lives just because. There's definitely a reason to why. Yeah, it might be hard right now. It might not look good right now. You might think that you are not being blessed, but little did you know that all those things are being accumulating, are accumulating to that blessing. It's leading to that blessing. So, and we could talk on a lot of stories that are very similar, that you'll say, why is Yah allowing this to happen? But there is a reason. There is a huge victory at the end of that story. So for that. I also okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say really quickly. So I found the reason why that even came to mind. It was in verse 8, where he says, I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And it just, I started to think, like, if Canaan wasn't cursed and he didn't do that, what would that have looked like? Because he said he was going to give him that land for their possession. It was warranted. Even okay, so Yah's word is Yah's word, right? So whatever he says goes no matter what. But even if you wanted to look at it from a standpoint of, well, Canaan did steal that land. You know what I mean? So now from a human perspective, we can see it and say, well, it makes sense why Yah says, don't kill, but then he's telling his people to go in there and just wipe out everybody that's in their land. He's purging the land for Israel. But it was like, what if Shem really did adopt that land? So that's just really where the thought came from. I didn't want to think that I was just going off on a tangent, but it was from that verse specifically.
So I have a couple things that I wrote here in my notes, and there's a few things that I'm about to contend or confront some traditional thoughts and ideas. So I want to go to Genesis 17:4, right? And it says here, as for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Abraham is going to be the father of not just one nation. Yes, we know that there's one nation that will be in covenant. We know that for sure. But Abraham is the father of many nations, not just that one nation. And that includes Arabs. You have Israelites. You have even Edomites. If you trace all of their lineage, they all go, they all trace back to Abram. They all trace back to Sarai. And these are all big nations that each of them had kings or have kings. So these are nations that, yes, they might have, took their own routes and, fell off a covenant or whatever. But these are all nations that were promised as, children of Abraham. They all belong to Abraham and Sarah as descendants. Okay? So, I just wanted to bring that up because a lot of times we think very just narrow that, it's just Israelites and it's, that are the children of Abraham. And that's not necessarily true when we look at Genesis 17. It says many nations. So even the Goyim, even Goyims have something that leads them back to Abraham. Halelu'Yah.
Halelu'Yah. Halelu'Yah. I wanted to point out the circumcisions actually, and I wanted to mention just the amount of faith that not only Abraham had to have in Yah, but the amount of faith that Abraham's people had to have in him. Because I mean, let's be honest here. The word says that he circumcised every man in that house.
I mean, not one said no. Well, we don't know if they said no or not, but you know.
Right. I mean, I don't know if Abraham. I mean, he was a warrior, so he could have, had to ruffle up a couple of them. But it's just like, it's crazy to think. I'm a grown man, right? And I'm following this guy. And this like every dude seems to work. He believes in Yah. Okay, I'm starting to believe in Yah because he believes in Yah. And now he's coming to me and he's telling me I got to cut off the what? I mean, at that point, I would like to think some faith was tested at that point. They definitely didn't expound as much on that as I'm sure they should have.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine someone just coming up to you? Well, not just someone, your spiritual father or your leader coming up to you and telling you, "Hey man, put your pants down because I need a snip too." What?
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking about a time where there's no anesthesia. Everybody's well awake, well aware. I mean, the amount of faith, the amount of faith that had to be circulating that camp is, I mean, it's just beyond reason, to think about. I mean, we're talking about the guy that literally was willing to kill his own firstborn son. So, I mean,
you don't know that.
Sniffing.
We don't know that part.
Right, well, yeah, but I mean, just for context, though, I mean, sniffing the tip is no big thing for him. But the people that were there that had to get it done, I mean, they all had to have been filled with some sort of powerful faith that we can't imagine, man. Because that's just a funny sidebar. But I just really, truly, seriously, on a serious note,
is this
seriously,
the first,
just imagine that.
Is this the first biblical scenario where a medical when medical process was taking place?
Well, technically in the authorized. No, technically in the authorized, but in Jubilees there is that portion with Noah, I believe, in the medicines, because the sons were so I mean, in the authorized version,
This is the first time any surgery was being done.
Right, yeah, surgery. Yeah, let's just put it there.
Cosmetic surgery.
The first surgery in history was cosmetic. That's crazy. Oh my goodness.
Not cosmetic, covenant surgery.
Right. Yeah, let's put it there.
So check this out. Going back to, I want to go back to, or tying in to what was said in the 16th chapter, right? Chapter 16. How we said that, Sarah didn't know that she was going to bear a child or anything like that, so she wasn't really acting upon disobedience or anything. So here we read that the words being chosen here is that a son also from Sarah will be given to you. So I'm trying to find the verse exactly. But the word that's being used is the word also. Okay, 17:16, and I will bless her and give her thee a son also of her. Also, meaning Ishmael's in mind, right? And then I will give you a son also of Sarah, meaning, okay, you have a son, but I'm also gonna give you a son through Sarah. So when this promise of the covenant son is being given, Ishmael is in the mind of Yah here. Like, yeah, you have Ishmael, but also apart from what you have, also I will give you a son through Sarah. And
Right.
when this promise was being given, look at the bottom. What does it say at the bottom of this chapter? Ishmael was being circumcised at what age? He was 13.
13. Yeah. Wow.
So Ishmael was already 13 years old when this promise was being given to Sarah. So it completely goes against traditional thought that, you know, the promise was given and then, you know, he went ahead and had a kid with Hagar. No, not true. Not true. The promise was given to Sarah. Yeah, he already knew that he was going to have children and this and that. But specifically to Sarah, the promise was given to Sarah when Ishmael was 13. So it's not anything like how traditionally has been taught to us. He said that he will give a son also. And then he specifies that with this one would be the covenant. Alright? God, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, Genesis 17:19, and thou shalt call his name Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant. So he was very specific here. So it's not like, you know, Abraham was gonna have his first child or anything like that, and then he went ahead and had a kid with Hagar thinking that that was gonna be the child of the covenant. No, he had a child already. He did his thing with Hagar. The child was 13, and then Yah said, okay, I'm gonna give you a son, and now also is gonna be from Sarah. You are also gonna have a son from Sarah, and this will be your covenant son.
Oh, yeah. And also, just to elaborate more on what you're saying about these many nations, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not sure that the authorized version of the Bible speaks on this, maybe it gives mention to it, but if I'm not mistaken, Abraham also had another wife named Keturah.
Yes.
And she also had children.
Yes.
So, I mean, there are, even past Ishmael, there are other children that came, but Isaac was the one that was the promise that you know that had Jacob, which turned into Israel. Of course, we all know that. But at the end of the day, all these nations do still come from Abraham, and the Most High, even when he was making his promises with Israel, was saying that because of their fornication with God, he was going to cause them to be jealous with these other nations. You know, so at the end of the day, however you want to cut it, Israel, bloodline Israel, 100% is not the only nation to be saved, bloodline wise. Now, the ideologies and the priesthood, absolutely. I mean, if you're a Moabite and you're picking up Israelite concepts, and I mean, look at Ruth. You know, you're picking up Israelite principles, then of course, you know, you're considered Israel.
Yes,
even if you're not of the blood.
We're not denying that the covenant is with Israel. All right, we're not denying
that.
We're not denying that at all. But the seed of Abraham, is many nations, and you can see here how Ishmael is being blessed. Ishmael is being considered a seed of Abraham because he is the first child of Abraham, and he's being blessed. But he's specifying, you know, he's not damning him or saying that he's anything less, but he is specifying that with Isaac there is a covenant. So we're not denying the fact that the covenant, there's a covenant line, but the bloodline is more than just Isaac. There's so much Abraham bloodline. Now that we're on this topic, I want to ask the question. Abraham is a Hebrew, right?
Sure.
All right. Hebrew basically means those from the line of Eber, because the word Eber is where we get Hebrew from, Ivri. His great-grandfather, Eber, which in Hebrew is like how the word Ivri is spelled. Now, isn't it, if Abraham is a Hebrew, is his children Hebrew?
That would make his children Hebrew, yeah. It comes from the father, yeah.
So let me ask you something. Are the Arabs Hebrew?
Yeah. Yeah,
You're
they are.
and I know why you're laughing, because if anyone hears this, they'll scream at me as blasphemy. Like, what are you talking
Right.
about?
Yeah, no, they are though. They really are.
But, but
But they originally were. Somewhere along the lines, maybe. But original Arab culture directly from Ishmael, definitely Hebrew.
Hebrew. So, okay. Any child from Keturah is Hebrew as well.
Right.
Okay, so Isaac is Hebrew, so that means any of his children are Hebrew as well, right?
Right.
So if Jacob is Hebrew and he had a twin brother named Esau, what is Esau then?
That'll make him Hebrew too.
Hmm.
That'll make him Hebrew too.
These are hard pills to swallow, coming from an Israelite's point of view, but these are truths. These are truths. And
Yeah.
these are things that we need to take in mind and realize, because at the end of the day, the promise is to who? Abraham's seed.
Israel.
No, the
Of
covenant.
Abraham's seed.
The covenant. The covenant is in Israel. Israel is the priesthood. Israel is supposed to be the priest of the world, right? The ones who lead the example. But at the end of the day, to lead the example for what? For the rest of the nations, for the rest of the world, for them to come back and be reconciled to Yahuwah. But it's for all the nations. It says that Abraham will be the blessing of all nations. He is the blessing of all nations. The seed of Abraham, all of them are allowed to come through to the kingdom if they come into covenant. There is I forgot the name of the person, but there was someone that was speaking with Paul, I believe in the book of Acts, and I think this person was an Edomite. Got his name. It starts with an A. Africa or something like that. I forgot. But he was basically telling him, "Oh, you are leading me to want to follow the Messiah," and Paul was like basically telling me, "Yes, even if it takes a long time, or if it happens now, yes, my goal is for everyone to be like me." So you got Paul, saying this to an Edomite. So why if supposedly Edomites are not supposed to be part of salvation because it's only exclusively to the Israelites, why will Paul be having this conversation with this Edomite? You get me? So we need to understand that the exclusivity of the is not just for Israelites when it comes to the kingdom. However, they are the exclusive covenant people. Yes, not denying that. The priesthood comes from the Israelites. Yes. But the seed of Abraham is many. As we are reading right here, Genesis 17. The seed of Abraham is many, 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 many. And we all have that opportunity to be in covenant and to be reconciled to Yahuwah. Halelu'Yah for Yahusha. Yahusha, although he did say that he came for the lost sheep of Israel, right? But through him, all the seeds of Abraham are reconciled to Yah.
Right.
Halelu'Yah.
Halelu'Yah. And this goes even deeper too, man. And I'm not going to go too far into it, but I just want to put a seed out there to anybody that wants to do any deeper reading, deeper research. This same covenant extends all the way back to Adam. If you look in the book of Adam and Eve, that's one of the lost books, and it explains what happened after Adam and Eve left that garden. It talks about their life after the garden and how they ended up in the cave of treasures. Adam was committing suicide because he was so mournful and scornful of the fact that he got kicked out of the garden. and Yah kept bringing him back. And and he told him, he said, because you're so repentant, your seed is gonna, like, he was basically the same covenant he's given Abraham, he gave it to Adam. And it's crazy because you know how they say that scripture, it says, no marvel, you know, Satan comes as an angel of light, no marvel that his ministers come as ministers of righteousness. There's this one scene in the book of Adam and Eve where Adam and Eve are in the cave of treasures, and the devil comes as a light. So they're in a completely dark cave. It's nighttime outside. They're horrified. And the enemy comes as a light, but he's standing at the mouth of the cave. And Adam sees this light, but he remembered the deception of the enemy to Eve. And he said, since I don't want to be deceived again by this guy, I'm going to pray to you, Yah. And he asked Yah, is this a light that I should trust? And Yah told him, no, that's not a light you should trust. So it shows the characteristics, but I say all that to say this covenant extends way back to Adam. There's the seed of Adam, the seed of Abraham, the seed of the children of Israel. I mean, all this stuff, it just all ties in together. So there are multiple nations that are going to be involved in this. It can't possibly just be Israel. Yes, the 144,000 is Israel, for sure. The 144,000, 100% Israel. But outside of that, it's not just 144,000 that'll be saved. There's just those that are sealed. But there are still more that Israel has to minister to. As Dr. L said, Israel, we're the priesthood. So if we're the priesthood, that means we are the example. We can't be an example to ourselves. We've got to be an example to everyone else that don't know the law, that live lawlessly and are trying to figure it out, but are willing to find Yah if they just had that opportunity.
Halelu'Yah. And you know what came to mind is that Israel is the covenant people, and the word does say that you're the sojourner or the stranger that is in your land and that becomes who accepts the covenant, you know, and wants to follow the Israelite customs. They do become Israel. They become Israel. So you know, it's understanding that yes, Israel is the covenant line, but it's the line to reconcile everybody else. Everybody else does have the opportunity to come into the kingdom. Everyone else is that seed of Abraham. Halelu'Yah.
Halelu'Yah. And also too, don't get it twisted too, man. So Israel is the covenant people, absolutely. But what was the original plan from the beginning, right? From the line of David, from the line of Judah down to David, the line of David up to the Messiah. Judah is in the house of Israel. David is in the house of Israel. The Messiah is in the house of Israel. So let's not all bolster up our chests and puff our chests out thinking that, oh, we these important people. No. The salvation came from the house of Israel, just point blank by the Messiah being born in Israel. If the Messiah was born from some Japhite nation, that would have been the nation. If the Messiah was born from a Canaanite nation, that would have been the nation. But it just so happened the Most High blessed this nation to allow his son to come through the Israelite nation. So at the end of the day, it's nothing that we did. It's nothing that our fathers did. It's all about the plan the Most High already had laid the foundation for. So who are we to say that we know more about his plan than he is? If he says in his word that it's going to be all nations, then it's going to be all nations.
Halelu'Yah.
Halelu'Yah.
Halelu'Yah. Okay. Isaac. The name Isaac, it means laughter. It means laughter, and in the previous chapter, when Yahuwah was telling Abram about Isaac, or that he was gonna have a son, he laughed also. He laughed about it. I think it's here, right? That's talking about that he laughed. Oh no, it's actually here that he laughed. Oh, I'm gonna jump the gun a little because on the next chapter,
it's chapter.
Yeah, yeah.
17, verse 17. Yeah,
Yeah,
verse
yeah.
17.
Abraham laughs. But then when we get into chapter 18, Sarah laughs too. So that's why I said, oh, I'm gonna jump the gun. No, because I had my cables crossed when I was gonna explain it. But no, in this chapter, yes, Abraham does laugh. He is the joy, basically, of that represents, the covenant, because out of him, there's joy is gonna come in. So laughter, that's what his name is, Isaac. Laughter. You know what's interesting to me?
What's that?
It's interesting to me that Ishmael was promised 12 tribes, basically.
Yeah, he was. He was promised 12 nations. Yep.
12 prince.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't. I didn't dig deep into that, but I found that interesting. It's like, why 12? Why like a mirror of what Jacob was gonna have?
Right. That is interesting, and probably something worth looking at too. Honestly.
Yeah, man. Cause
honestly,
why specifically 12? 12 prince was he's gonna have? Why would it say that? Why would it mention that 12?
And even the Messiah had 12 apostles. So I'm curious to know what's with this number 12, and just exactly what does that truly mean? That number 12, like
I know for sure Messiah did that, so it could be a reference to the 12 tribes. Now, what the root of it is? Why 12 tribes? Why these 12 nations with Ishmael? Why 12? Yeah, we should definitely dig deeper into that to see why. Really.
So while you were talking about Abraham laughing, I'm sorry, I just wanted to come back to that for a second.
Yeah.
Every time I read that part, I always imagine, right? So we know that when Yah speaks to us, he could do it in a dream. He does it in our hearts. Maybe we get a feeling of some sort. We confirm it. He confirms it however which way he does it. But I don't know a single soul on this earth that could look me in my face and tell me that they know what the voice of the Most High Yah sounds like, because he spoke to him directly how I'm speaking to you.
Yeah.
So I imagine that a prophet, like Jeremiah, Habakkuk, the actual prophets, I imagine that they heard Yah in the same way, but theirs was just a whole lot more vivid, to a point where they knew for a fact it was Yah, versus somebody else that might be hearing Yah, but you're kind of unsure.
It's just a feeling.
So I imagine, right. So I imagine that that's how Abraham heard Yah. Whenever Yah said, hey, go to that land, it wasn't Yah coming to him and talking to him directly like how we're speaking, but it was that feeling he had in his spirit that Yah was able to confirm one way or another. And Abraham, with the faith that he has, which is why I even brought up the whole circumcision thing. It's like, I know he's hearing Yah the same way we hear Yah, but he just knows how to identify his voice a lot better than we do. So I look at the scene, and you can just imagine the scene, right? Like, picture it with me. It's this old 90-year-old, 100-year-old man sitting down on his rocking chair, just thinking to himself. Everybody out doing their thing. They're looking up, oh, yeah, there goes Abraham again, just sitting there thinking. And he's just sitting there, and then out of the blue, he just falls down, just busts out laughing like, what? That's crazy. You know what I mean? And it's just like a real, like, warm picture, right?
And then right
like,
after that, really and then right after that, he's like, all right, guys, let's snip the tips. What?
Right. They're all laughing. They still laughing like, oh, look at Abraham. All right, guys, you ready? Yo, that's crazy. But really though, that's just such a warm picture to imagine, man. Like when we read the word, we're seeing directly spiritually what's actually happening, right? But the physical manifestation might not have looked like this. It might not have looked like Abraham having a conversation with the Most High, even down to, and dare I just fast forward a little bit just for context, the sacrifice of his son, Isaac. Abraham is literally hearing Yah the same way we hear him, and he knows he's hearing.
Yeah.
And it's like we hear him the same way, but we might be disobedient. We might have doubt. We might say, oh, well, that can't be him, And we allow the enemy to kind of come in our minds and just tamper with it. Whereas Abraham's clear thought was knowing this is exactly who I'm speaking to. I'm talking to the Most High Yah, because this is exactly the feeling that I had back when I was destroying those idols. This is exactly the feeling that I had when I moved out of Ur. This is exactly the feeling that I had when I went and I saved Lot from all those kingdoms with 300 men. And this is exactly the feeling that I got when I'm finding out at 100 years old that I'm about to give birth to a son, and my 90-year-old wife is about to be the one to do it. So yeah, I'm gonna laugh a little bit. It's kind of heartwarming, man. It's like
I like to believe that is way more than a feeling, because it says that he walked before Yah. So you know, it had to be a very strong conviction, more than just a feeling.
Absolutely. You know? Absolutely. No, I could see that too. I mean, not everybody's walking before Yah.
You know,
so
yeah, it has to be like, you know, it's not just this mental thing, but how can I? All right, so
kind of like when we came into the truth.
Yeah,
like how when you first came into the truth, it was like boom, you know.
Yeah,
and you knew for a fact.
I wanna use some worldly analogy. So when when I used to smoke, right, and people would tell me, oh, you know, is it a body high or is it just a head high? His connection with Yah was more than just a head high. It was a full body, you know, high. Definitely. So, because it was not just in his mind. He actually, you know, it was just, he walked with this presence, you know. It was something definitely that more than just a feeling. He had this strong conviction. And as a matter of fact, now that we're going to chapter 18, it's actually deeper than that. And we're going to see that right now.
Halelu'Yah.
Halelu'Yah. So Genesis chapter 18. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on. For therefore are ye come to your servant. And they said, So do as thou hast said. And Abram hasted into the tent unto Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, and knead it, and make cakes upon thy hearth. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind them. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, and were stricken in age, and ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And the Lord said to Abraham, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed I will return unto thee, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And the man rose up from thence, and looked towards Sodom. And Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham the thing which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. And the Lord said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sins is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is to come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence, and went towards Sodom, and Abraham stood yet before the Lord. And Abraham drew near, and said, Wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy it, and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked, that be far from thee. Thou shalt not the judge of all the earth do right? And the Lord said, If I find this Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord, which am but dust and ashes. Peradventure there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city of lack of 5? And he said, If I find there 40 and 5, I will not destroy it. And he spake unto him yet again, and said, Peradventure there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Peradventure there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto the Lord. Peradventure there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet. But this once, peradventure 10 shall be found there. And he said, And I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And the Lord went his way as soon as he had left communing with Abraham. And Abraham returned unto his place.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. So, the Lord appeared to him. Yahuwah appeared to him. And he looked. And he saw 3 men. And he ran to them and bowed down. He bowed to them and called them Lord. That was Yahuwah manifested in human form. Because as we've been speaking about Abraham and his connection with Yahuwah, that he actually knew what his voice sounded like. He had a great relationship with Yahuwah. So for him to run up to these 3 men, bow down to them, and call them Lord, that had to definitely be Yahuwah himself there.
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's wow. Yeah. Because I'm just trying to picture, like, just trying to imagine what that visually looked like. These 3 men just appear out of nowhere, and everyone knows Abraham to be the one that follows Yah, the unseeable God, right? And they're all watching him go up to these 3 men and bow down to them. I know that must have been a crazy visual for a lot of people that were part of his community, you know?
Hallelujah. Now,
Hallelujah.
I ask you this question. What features did this human have? How did this human look like? I would like to believe that the human form was Yahusha.
All right.
And I would like to believe that this is the situation where when Yahusha was asked about, oh, if he's older than Abraham or whatnot, when he said, oh, before Abraham was, I am. So I would like to believe that he was pointing towards this moment. Like, I am the one who presented himself in front of Abraham at Mamre. I am that one.
But what about the other two, though? So we know Yahusha, but then it says that there were 3 men.
There were 3, so this is, I mean, I don't even know what to make of this right here. But I do know that a lot of people say that that Yahuwah is not human or cannot be human. So you're telling me that Torah is lying? Because Torah right here is telling us that he took human form. He appeared to Abraham in human form. And this is not just us Hebrews or us Israelites in the truth movement. This even goes to those in Judaism. Because in Judaism, they would deny the fact that God could take human form. Yet, look what this says here in Genesis. You know?
That never made sense to me, how somebody could say that the Most High can't take human form. And what do you mean he can't? He created this entire world.
He could do anything.
Right, how can't he? Now, will he? He might not. He may not, but he can't? To say he can't, it's just, it never made sense to me.
And then Muslims also would say this. And as a Muslim, they have to believe what Torah says, because in their own word says that, you know, they need to follow that the Torah is truth. So, you know, whatever Genesis says here has to be true. This is what the word says. And clearly, Yahuwah presented himself in human form in this moment. Halelu'Yah.
Halelu'Yah. I will say this too, though, because I know that even Yahusha says that no man has seen the face of the glory of the Most High. So that right there, I would imagine that what he's saying is Yah in his spirit, like how he is right now, the unseeable Yah. I would imagine that that's what he was talking about
in the Father form. In the Father form,
right?
But
right.
Moses did get to see his face. I think of that because Moses' face was glowing itself because of being in the presence of Yah.
But I don't think he saw his face, though. He might have been in his presence, but he possibly didn't see his face because, I mean, if the presence was that bright, it's possible his face was still hidden. But he still did see the presence of it.
Good thing we'll be getting to those books soon to find out the truth. But definitely,
let's put it on the shelf.
Yes, we'll put that on the shelf. But yeah, but no, because in this manifestation, Yahuwah took the manifestation, the form of a human, so a creation being. So definitely, it's not him as the Father that came down to Abraham. So no, Abraham hasn't seen the face of the Father. No, definitely not. But I like to see where it says that, look at these interesting connections, that he washed his feet. Abraham washed the feet of the men, and that made me think about when Yahusha washed the feet of his guest when he was observing Pesach. I don't know why, but it brought that to mind, how, you know, the washing of the feet.
Yeah, it's a lot of comparisons there.
Also, I know that there's a lot of made-up doctrines when it comes to different type of religions, and this is interesting to me that he gave Yah to eat, and Yah ate. Yah, it says that he ate. This is interesting, like Yah actually taking human form and eating. So this goes to show that as well, and I'm just thinking about this right now, that when Yah takes a certain form, he will take on that form completely. Where he actually eats, so that means he was hungry as well. That's interesting to think. But what I did want to talk about here is that, for instance, in Judaism, they teach that you're not supposed to drink milk or eat dairy with your meat because there's a law. I forgot exactly where this law is at. But it's either in Deuteronomy or in Leviticus, where it says that a calf should not be boiled in his mother's milk. So because of that, there's a doctrine in Judaism that says that you shouldn't drink milk or have any dairy products with the meat. So it's interesting that I see here that butter, milk, and a calf is being offered as a meal here. So definitely debunking that doctrine, because obviously there's nothing wrong with mixing dairy and meat. Now, like I said, they did do that because of that law that was said. But if we look into the context of that law that was created was for pagan rituals, and the pagans used to do that as a fertility thing, where the calf being a baby and the milk being the source of of fertility or whatever. They would boil a calf in its own mother's milk. So that's why it would be wrong to do. So if we follow Torah to the T, yes, it would be wrong to boil a calf into his mother's milk, because that would be a pagan ritual. However, it didn't say anything about a goat, or any other animal or anything like that. So it's just that calf specifically. And it's his mother's milk specifically. So let's say if anyone decided to boil a calf and some other type of milk, or another cow's milk not being his mother, that definitely is not violating Torah at all, because the law or that statute specifically says that it's the calf in his mother's milk. If you can understand what I'm saying.
Right.
All right, so there's a lot, and the reason why I say this is because a lot of ox of ours, a lot of brothers of ours in the truth movement, for some reason, gravitate to a lot of doctrines that come from Judaism, like adopting the Star of David, and adopting a lot of stuff that have nothing to do with a true Torah observer. So because of that, a lot of them also follow some doctrines that are not Torah but more Talmudic. They're they're from the Talmud, or they're from what rabbis established. So that's the reason why I want to bring that up, just in case there's anybody out there watching the video or listening to us that they might feel that they shouldn't put cheese on their burger or drink a cup of milk, with any meat or anything like that, because of feeling that they might be violating Torah. No, you're not. You can definitely slap as many slices of cheese as you want on a burger, and you can definitely chug down a gallon of milk if you want, and you can spread butter all over that bun all you want as well. Okay, that's definitely not violating Torah. And if anyone who is following those doctrines and are listening to this or watching this, I really hope that you get to see this, and you can teach yourself something, that we shouldn't just take doctrines or what religion says just because it's been followed by tradition. We should definitely dive into the word and see what the word says, because Yah himself drank milk and ate a calf. So if Yah can do it, we can definitely do it.
Halelu'Yah. Halelu'Yah. So I wanted to point this out, and I don't really know. This might change some perspectives, I guess, between you and myself,
Okay.
ourselves. But looking at Genesis 18, right? So what do we know about the authorized version of the Bible? When they got Lord in all caps,
Mm-hmm.
they're usually talking about Yahuwah, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then when they have Lord with just a capital L and everything else is lowercase, then typically it's talking about either an angel or something like that. Now, look at 18. So verse 1, and the Lord appears unto him in the plain memory. Okay, so we know that's
Yes.
Yahuwah. And then when you go down and
18:3.
you're seeing 18:3, and even when you go down further, all the
So
way down,
I have.
every time Abraham says something.
Mm-hmm.
So this before you go into what you're gonna say,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just tell you what I'm
Yeah.
envisioning
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
right? And I could be completely off,
No, it's
but
fine.
short of maybe just a mistake made on the publishing part. But this is what I'm kind of envisioning. I'm envisioning Yah being with Abraham the same way he was with Abraham when he went out for Lot, the same way he was with Abraham when he gave him his covenant, just being with Abraham. And as Abraham is talking to these these men are responding, but Yah is also responding to Abraham. So as he's talking to the three men, whatever they're saying is Yah telling him, like basically translating to
Mm-hmm.
Abraham exactly what it is that they're saying too.
Mm-hmm.
And not necessarily that the three men was Yah come as a physical manifestation, but those being the angels that Yah sent down to Abraham, identifying that because he knew the presence of Yah was with him.
Mm-hmm.
Just based on just the differences of the capitalization, that's kind of what I picture
Yes.
reading
So
that to make sense of it. Yeah.
so check it out. 18:1. It says, and the Lord appeared. That right there, and the Lord. When you look into the, do you have your blue book Bible or your
The blue
blue
pen?
letter?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna pray some cards now. Blue book, your blue letter Bible. So if you look into your blue letter 18:1, you're gonna see that when it says the Lord and all capital Lord, they're actually saying Yahuwah. Okay.
Right.
Now,
Right.
now when we saying the word Lord, the regular Lord, capital L, and the rest lowercase, that is where
It's a done.
Exactly, is Adonai. He's calling him master. So he's not calling him by his name, but calling him master. So that's the difference. You got one that says the name, and you got the other one that says Adon, which is my Lord, which is my master. So that's the difference right there. Okay? So he's telling these three men the manifestation of Yahuwah, master. He's calling him master.
Right.
But the difference between Lord, all caps, and Lord with the capital L lowercase is that he's addressing to him not by his name, but calling him master.
Okay.
Yeah. Something interesting, and I think this is what I feel, or this is what I'm noticing. I feel that chapter 17 and 18 are the same timeline. I feel that this is just a more detailed version or another perspective of what was going on in 17 when he was speaking to Yahuwah and he was telling him about Isaac and all that, and then you see a repeat of that as well, because now Sarah is listening to what basically, because he's announcing that he will have a son, but he already announced that. So I'm feeling, I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel that 18 and 17 are actually intertwined. They're actually the same timeline. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you think basically right after he circumcised all those men, that's when the three angels appear, or
Or
the three men appear.
not necessarily right after, but it's all the same day, and then he circumcised them after that or whatever. But the fact that Yahuwah is telling him about Isaac, I feel like, why would he repeat that? You know, why would that be repeated if he already told them that? So I see it somehow as that being in the same timeline or something like that. I could be wrong, but that's what I perceive of it, because it's like, why would he repeat himself if he already told them? And
Well, he confirms things in matters of 2 or 3.
well,
So that could have been the witness.
this is the witness, the writing of it. Yes, that's true, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the setting is not the same, that the timeline is not the same. This is the repeat, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that this happened a day after or a week after. This could be the same timeline.
Right.
That's what
Well, he said something, because in this timeline for chapter 18, he says something different. Like, he doesn't say it the same way as he said it in 17.
No, he doesn't say it the same way. But you also have, like, in the gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, where they talk about pretty much the same thing, but they don't say all exactly the same thing, and there's actually discrepancies kind of between the four of them, but they're generally talking about the same thing and the same
all the same timeline, yeah.
But it's the same timeline, exactly.
Right.
The only reason why I say this is because of the whole Isaac thing and being it repeated again, basically.
Right.
I feel like this is just like another point of view of that timeline.
So just to I guess pry even more, so in 17 it says that Abraham himself had laughed, and then in 18 it says that's when Sarah had laughed. So if it were the exact same timeline, why not acknowledge the fact that Abraham laughed along with his wife? Why was it just Abraham laughing in this one time, he said it, and then Sarah laughing in this second time, and then now Sarah is being called out for laughing?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying that I'm completely right. I just feel that it could be, but then again, like I said, there's different point of views. How you can watch a movie and they repeat the same scene again, but from the point of view of someone else, and then you see different details. So I feel like that's what's happening here.
Right.
It's just a different point of view of it, but I could be completely wrong as well. I just, it was just interesting to me, or something that I was looking at. I felt that it could have been.
No, I dig it.
Now, it says that from this message, Isaac was going to be born a year later, right?
Right.
1814, and what stood out to me here is this wording. It says, "Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed, I will return unto thee, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son." And it says, at the time appointed. When we look at appointed times, if the translation to that in the Hebrew is modein. So I feel that Isaac might have been born on a feast day.
I can see that, because I know he gave first fruits. Abraham gave first fruits when Isaac was born.
Yes, but in that time it was the first fruits of wheat, not barley.
Right.
It'll be interesting, because hold on, yeah. So if he was giving wheat, it must have been around Sukkot or something like that.
Right.
Around the fall feast. So I feel that Isaac might have been born on a feast day solely because of the wording here. And when I looked into the Blue Letter Bible of the appointed times, it does say Modeim. So it says that he will return in a Modeim, and that's when the son will be born.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. That is interesting because when you look at all the other things that we've read so far from Noah to even when Abraham was given those promises, we see that they fell on feast days.
They all correlate.
Specifically the Feast of Trumpets, right? Because it's the seventh month, the first day of the month. Or yeah. So specifically the Feast of Trumpets, so far from what we've seen. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Isaac would be born on a feast day. I would go as far as to say that the Messiah himself is probably born on a feast day. Because nobody really knows his birthday. Everybody thinks it's December 25th. But
I believe it. I believe it, and I'm gonna tell you which one I believe it is. I believe Messiah was born in Sukkot, and the reason why I believe it's Sukkot because Sukkot is we're celebrating where the presence of Yahuwah dwelt with Israel, because Sukkot is about tabernacles, and tabernacle was where the presence of Yahuwah was living in the middle of Israel. So I feel that it is true, because even the wording that is it Paul used that he tabernacled with us. Maybe it was John. I'm not sure who it was, but it says that he dwelt with us. And when we look into the Hebrew wording for that, it was tabernacled. I do believe Yahusha was born on Sukkot, because that will be something prophetic. That will be a fulfillment for real of Sukkot, where the presence of Yahuwah actually came down and dwelt with us. Also looking at the prophecy of Isaiah of Emmanuel, which means Elohim with us, definitely a lot of things in the Torah point out to Yahusha being the presence of Yahuwah dwelling with us, and he basically being that Sukkot, being the tabernacle.
Halelu'Yah. And let's say that both of those are accurate, right? Let's say Yahusha being born on Sukkot, and let's say Isaac being born on Sukkot. Now, Isaac is the promised child. And that means that them sharing the same exact birthday, I mean, there's all types of connections that could be drawn from that now.
Wow.
That's crazy, right?
Yes. And the fact that Isaac was going to be sacrificed.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, that I'm willing to bet that might be true, man. They might have both been born on Sukkot.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Hey, man. Yeah.
Halelu'Yah.
You know, we got some homework to do, but
yeah, for sure.
We definitely, because the fact that Isaac is the promised son of the covenant, Yahusha is the promised son.
It's the fulfillment. Yep, the fulfillment of that covenant, that same covenant
of the son that will fulfill the covenant. Yes. Wow. Wow, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I definitely do believe that. Wow, because the connections is just very strong. The possibility.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is.
That's very. Wow, if there's anyone out there that knows this more than we do, and like knows this, like let us know. Like write down the comments. Give us book, chapter, verse, because we got homework to do. We got.
Yeah. Point us in the right direction.
Yes.
That right there, that's profound. For sure. Halelu'Yah. I wanted to point out one more thing too.
I got
if you're okay.
Too. Yeah, go ahead, because I got something else.
Okay. So earlier I had mentioned when we were speaking of, with the name Lord being in all caps, and then Abraham saying my Lord and it being a done. I had scrolled earlier, before I had even mentioned it, to see if he had mentioned the word Lord before. And I noticed that in certain places it would say God, and in other places it would say the Lord. And I know the reason behind this, but I just wanted to point out to anybody that might be watching this that's a Christian that may feel like his name is actually God or his name is actually the Lord. I want you to understand with these translations that every time you see the word the Lord, that was always replaced with the tetragram for Yahuwah.
The
And
capital
anytime you
Lord.
see, yeah, the Lord in capitals, I'm sorry. If you see the Lord in capitals, that's translated from the tetragram. But every time you see God, that is akin to the word Elohim or
Elohim.
Alahaya.
Hmm.
Right. So when you're talking and you're saying, oh yeah, I'm speaking with God, or you're saying, oh well, God is his name, then you got to realize that God wasn't even his name in the translation. So that's a definite misguidance on, whatever church or whatever establishment you may have learned from. It was a misguidance to think that God is actually his name.
It,
It's more so a title
it's a title.
describing, who he is.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
So
But the
when
Lord in all caps, that's what you want to look for when you're trying to decipher his name.
So basically, what you're saying, when we say God, God means the mighty one. That's basically what it means, because God is the transliteration or the translation of the word Elohim. Elohim means the mighty one. Um, so
Hmm.
so when you see the word God, you're basically saying Almighty. That's basically what it
Right.
is. Um, the
Right.
word Lord with not the capitalized one is just saying master, Adonai.
Hmm.
So it's like the person who is your owner or your master. That's what that Lord means. So yeah, definitely these are titles. They're not the name. The name would
Right.
be the capital Lord, but that's not the actual name, because that is a transliteration or a translation. It's the actual YHWH or the YHUH,
Hmm.
which is Yahuwah. That's where they get that from. So Halelu'Yah
Right.
for that, because I, I,
And
feel,
hmm
I feel that we definitely should be talking about that and touching on that, because a lot of people do watch our videos and maybe we don't talk about that enough. Maybe we should
right.
say that more often. Perhaps it's the first time watching the video, and
Mm.
we should definitely
Right.
every time we do say these words, we should give this reference and remind people. Mm-hmm.
And further proof of it, I meant to mention this before,
Mm-hmm.
but when you're looking at God in the Bible and then you're looking at the Lord in all caps, you will never see the word God in all caps. So that right there should be further, I guess, evidence for somebody that may have heard that and it kind of ruffles a little bit. But
Mm-hmm.
really ask yourself the question why the word the Lord would be capitalized when you see Lord in many other places that aren't capitalized, but you never see the word God in all caps.
Yep.
So that's another thing really to just do some deeper diving, and I promise the answer will be there.
And another witness to that, you're gonna see the Lord your God. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
which one is his name? You know?
Right.
So the
Mm-hmm.
Lord is obviously that when they say the Lord your God, that's the capitalized Lord, so it's Yahuwah your Elohim. That's what is being
Hallelujah.
said. Allah, yeah. I want to touch on something. I don't know if you have anything else to touch on.
No,
Uh,
I'm good.
okay, so to end, because we are uh extended on here a bit, but you know what, halaya, because it's a lot of good stuff. um
Hallelujah.
so here we see basically a calling given to Abram, right? And this calling, man, what verse is it? um I'm trying to, okay. So Genesis 18:18 saying, "Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him." All the nations of the
Mm.
earth, all the nations of the earth, right? All of them shall be
Right.
blessed in him. And we don't even have to go that far, because in the same chapter in itself, you see how Abraham is interceding or pleading for Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right.
These are people who are not lineage at all, but yet you see Abraham already fulfilling his calling of being the blessings for all nations. He is pleading with Yahuwah and saying, surely if there's any righteous people over there, he's living out his calling right there, just a few verses later. And these are people who are not bloodline. These are people who are not in covenant. These are people who are from Sodom and Gomorrah. That's they're Canaanites, right? This is Ham's line, and he is pleading for well, first of all, the word righteous. I mean, why would you even say the word righteous if these people are basically pagan? They're pagan. They're goyim. They're other nations. Yet he's saying that if there might be any righteous, are you gonna treat them like the wicked? And he's pleading for these people. So you can already see how a shadow of Yahusha being here, someone who is of covenant, someone who is of the promise, who pleads for the rest of the world.
Hallelujah. I do want to mention too, and I know we haven't gotten this far, but it is worth mentioning for this specific scenario because it could shed light on as to why he was pleading for that nation. But I know that he knew that Lot was in Sodom and Gomorrah too.
Definitely.
So I mean, I remember in the church when I was going to church that they said that the reason why he pleaded for them was because of Lot. So I don't really know how true that is. I mean, it probably is, but even still, he literally could have said, well, hey, you think you could save Lot out of that?
Yeah.
But he said, if you find 50 people, I mean, that's a lot, including other people. He was still thinking selflessly. He wasn't thinking, oh, I just want you to save my people.
Yeah.
If you find Lot plus another set of people, you think you'll be able to save all of them, or could you save the land?
And that's that's interesting that the way you worded that, because he just finished telling him that he's of covenant and that there's going to be a promise upon him and that his children are going to be blessed and that. And basically Abraham is saying, yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but I don't want just my people to be saved. How about these people? How about there's other people who are righteous? How about there are other people that that you might spare? So that's very humble, man. Like, Abraham is a great example of a man of Yah. Like, from the beginning of the story of him moving around where Yah tells him to him being a man ready for war if there has to be war, for him being a man that, you choose the plot of land that you want, I'll go grab another one, to the point of, yeah, I'm blessed and you're saving me, but will you spare others? Man, Abraham is an all-around, like, wow. He is a
great example.
Great example, man. Like when I read this about Abraham and I read it about him with this new way of thinking, it's like, wow. Like, how did I not see this before?
All right.
This is why he is the father of nations. He is the patriarch, because he is like the example of who we should aspire to be, other than Yahusha. But Yahusha definitely sees Abraham as an example because Abraham is a father to him. So he is a great example to follow. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Well, I guess that's a good place to go ahead and wrap it up.
Yes, I can't wait for the comments. I want to. A lot of stuff was said, and I'm ready for these comments. But you know what? Hallelujah for talking and sharpening the sword. We definitely invite any type of comments, any comments. At least me for one, I like to see what anybody else thinks, or even if it might be contrary to what we just read, because what we must do is try to get everyone to understand and see what the word actually says. So we invite any type of comment. We would like to help anyone who might have a flawed perception, for lack of better words. And then also, if we have a flawed perception, definitely,
Right.
give us the precepts, book, chapter, verse. The whole point is to sharpen swords and to educate ourselves on this walk. Also,
Hallelujah.
like, share, subscribe, hit the like button. Where is it? Oh, it's over here. Oh, all right. So hit the like, hit the like button, share wherever it is. I don't know, but just hit it. Subscribe, comment, share with people. Let them know that there is this community growing where we are walking together, growing together, learning together, and it's all for the glory and for the esteem of Yahuwah. Bashem Yahusha.
Hallelujah.
Halelu'Yah. Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
shalom.